Tamron Hall show with the Miss Tina Knowles in celebration of her new memoir, Matriarch. So now you're on your journey. You're raising your children. You've got your grandchildren, and you're looking at life through a different lens of health. Mm-hmm. In the book, you start from the lens of this independent kid. I love this, badass teeny B.
Yeah.
You write about in the book. The B was for your last name. Mm-hmm. You start the book with explaining. There were how many different versions of your last name growing up?
Oh, God, it's probably about 7 of them.
Yeah. And it was because birth certificates were changed with each family member. And you were told by a family member that basically Black people should be lucky back then to have a birth certificate.
Yeah, my mom told me that she asked, because I asked her, why did you let people just chop our name up? Like, you know, why is our name different? And she said, well, you know, I tried one time to tell them to spell it right, and they said, listen, be happy that you got a birth certificate. Because, you know, I was born in the main hospital, but my brothers and sisters were born in a colored hospital. And I'm sure back then you really didn't dare challenge anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were I call myself a late to the party parent because I had my first child at 48.
Wow.
You were Miss Tina really.
You know what? No, I don't mean it like that. I mean, no. What I mean is I'm looking at you and you look not a day over 30.
I love it. Miss Tina's like, what? I love you.
More so, not about the baby, but you, I always think of you being in your 30s.
It's that sacred in my hair keeping me young.
No, but my mom had me at 44.
Yeah, and that struck me.
Yeah.
Your mom had you at 44. So your siblings were almost like your parent figures as you described it in the book.
My sister was 27 years older than me and had 8 children. So she was like more of a mother figure to me.
And you described this childhood of going from your parents' home, your older parents, to your sister's house.
She lived right around the corner. You know, back then, all your family just lived all down the street, around the corner. And so my sister lived right around the corner. And I loved being there because she had 8 children. And she was young, and it was always action going on. And my house was so quiet with these older people in it.
But you describe this beautiful childhood, even with its challenges, right? I mean, your family is struggling, your mom's a seamstress, all of these things that are real, especially for that region of the world. You are experiencing the racism and the sexism, all of it. So I picture this really bold and unapologetic, independent woman, bred and raised by this family. When you start to talk about your marriage to Matthew Knowles, it's almost like a seismic shift.
Yeah, it is.
It's
contradictory to
how you were raised.
Being this independent woman. Yeah, but I was also raised with parents that stayed together throughout all kinds of hardships, and I came from this very Catholic family where people didn't get divorced. Back then, people didn't get divorced. So it was already ingrained in my head that you have to make this work. If you don't, then you failed. So in my head, I felt like getting out of a marriage was a failure, but it wasn't why I stayed. I mean, I think I stayed because my ex-husband was a protector, and he was the first protector in my life.
You write about it in the book. You first met Matthew Knowles, 1976, at a party in Houston. We know how those parties are in Houston. Being a Texan, you're there, and you said, I found myself falling in love. Our conversations never losing urgency or humor. We'd go out to clubs, and we'd share an endless energy, dancing all night and becoming the couple that other people built their nights around seeing. There was tremendous passion between us, and I felt protected by him.
Yes.
So the protection was the attraction.
The protection was a lot of it, because my mother, being a great mother, but she protected me in other ways that when you're a kid, you don't see that as protection. You see that as not trusting you.
Yeah.
You see that as them being overbearing. It's a negative. And so here I meet this man, and he will go and tell anybody off and protect me. As bad as things got with us, if you mess with our kids, we were right there together to fight.
You talk about in your memoir, you said, I never questioned whether Matthew loved me or his family.
Yeah.
And that was what made his issue so hard for me.
Yeah.
And you talk about the end of the marriage. You talk about infidelity. You talk about it all.
Yeah.
It's like an album. It's like you were telling this story, and there's an arc to it, and there's a pain to it, and then there is a triumphant moment in so many ways where you talk about even being a mother and being a wife, you were losing yourself.
Yeah. Well, I lost myself. So, I lost myself when Beyonce, up until she was like, I guess, I opened my salon when she was 10. And those 5 years that I stayed at home with her, because I just thought she was the biggest prize in the world. And, you know, I talk about how people, even to keep her, if somebody wasn't excited to keep her, I was like, oh, well, I don't need you to keep her. And my sister is like, that baby is just a baby.
Yeah,
ain't nobody
because you
excited
were
about your
27
baby.
when you had
Right.
Beyonce. You're 27, and Solange came several years later.
Yes.
So your first-time mom, 27. This is your prize.
Right.
Everyone should love
and
your
not
prize.
only that, my mother, you know, Beyonce, the thing that I realized in writing this book is that my mom died 6 months after I got married, and I was super close to my mom. My mom was everything to me. And she died, and then I got pregnant right away with Beyonce. So to me, that was the replacement of my mom in some ways.
So you found yourself. I know so many people can relate to that because you try to fill that absence and that hole, and you start to lose yourself. And to your point, in the book, you talk about these different moments where Tina, now Miss Tina, disappears, whether it's the birth of your first child, your marriage with Matthew, even your second marriage to Richard Lawson. You look up and you don't see yourself anymore.
Yeah.
The contradiction of that, because you present so much power, but behind the scenes, again, in this book, I see a repeating of, I'm struggling.
Yeah. You know, and it's very different in my first marriage and my second marriage. My second marriage, I've known Richard I had known him for 40-something years. His sister was my best friend. And so we were really friends. And it seems like when we got married, we weren't friends anymore. We were, you know, the relationship shifted. And I just, by the end of the marriage, I just felt like I wasn't being my full 100% self. I was dumbing myself down. I was shrinking myself a lot.
What is it like to tell that story?
Ugh, it's hard. It's hard because I'm very private, and I know that anything I say will be spliced and diced and taken apart and taken out of context. I'm somewhat terrified because this book comes out and everybody will know all my business. You know, hard.
You wrote about families at the core of who you are. As you said, your parents stayed married forever. To even talk about a second marriage, right? That's hard.
Yeah, it is
because
hard.
you start to say, am I doing something wrong? And you unpack that in the book.
Yeah, and I unpacked that people said, you know, that, oh gosh, she is so overbearing. And no matter what I do, I'm gonna appear to be overbearing. So even me saying that my husband is not perfect, which I'm not perfect, nobody's perfect but God, but that was taken as, oh, she thinks she all that. She thinks she, and people having preconceived notions of who you are.
You are all that. And when we come back, Miss Tina is talking about being honored as a Mother of the Year and raising her daughters to stardom. We'll be right back.
This show makes me feel like the luckiest kid in the world. Join the fun and be part of our Tam Fam audience. Go to TamronHallShow.com. See you there.